Hey, it's Tim at the University of Vinyl. It is mid-June, and I'm trying to make a habit. I think so far I'm on track this year. Around the middle of the month, I want to take a little bit of a breather and kind of show recent pickups, recent finds that I've been finding out in used bins on my travels. And if I do happen to buy anything new, I like to maybe point those things out if I think they're of interest. So that's what today is going to be. And you know, at the beginning of the year, I told myself I was going to stop buying duplicates of albums that I already own. The problem with that is you might stumble onto a near mint copy of something and it is better than the thing that you currently have, so of course you pick it up. I've got a couple of those situations I'm going to talk about today, and a smattering of other interesting things that I think you'll enjoy. Stay tuned. If you're a jazz freak, the last 5 and even 10 years have been just outstanding for the hobby and the jazz enthusiast. Now, personally, I have been getting into jazz, here and there over the last few years, especially with all of the Blue Note tone poets and the classic series. I've been picking several of those up kind of as they come out. I'm not a completionist in any sort or fashion, and I haven't even talked much about jazz on this channel. But also, if you have watched my channel in the past, you know that I have a penchant for original pressings, and those are really what kind of move the needle for me. I don't care what genre we're talking about. So if I can find an original pressing in great condition and it's something that interests me or moves me emotionally and with my ears and my heart, I'm going to try and pick it up. So I wanted to start here today. I'm going to start with this incredible album, Red Clay. This is, of course, Freddie Hubbard with an all-star cast behind him. First of all, this is the first Freddie Hubbard album recorded on the CTI label. The great Creed Taylor produced this in 1970. This came out. This is a really, really nice copy, a 1970 original. Let's take a quick look at this real quick. There is that kind of iconic CTI label. This thing is in near mint condition. Only one real kind of noticeable, very, very like hairline mark on either side. That is definitely not noticeable on playback. Back to the supporting cast. Herbie Hancock on Fender Rhodes and organ. The great Ron Carter on upright and electric bass. Joe Henderson on tenor sax and flute. And Lenny White, a young Lenny White on drums, with just kind of exhibiting incredible feel and incredible groove. There's that cover. This is a very accessible album. I'm calling this, this is basically post-bop and fusion into funk. A great, great, great kind of early fusion album. There's that gatefold cover. The tracks on this thing are, first of all, the title track is just an all-time classic. Clocking in at over 12 minutes long is Red Clay. all of the players on that song. It's basically a roller coaster ride. They all take solos. Herbie Hancock on that Fender Rhodes is just amazing. And Freddie Hubbard, he has got just incredible blowing on this album. It's just not even a minute into the title track, and Lenny White is putting down just an awesome groove, and then is riding the cymbals later on throughout the album. He's got a very nuanced feel on this thing. It sounds great. This was recorded over 3 days in 1970, I think late January 1970. Recorded and mastered by the great Rudy Van Gelder. Rudy Van Gelder is in the Dead Wax at the, of course, historic Van Gelder studio just across the river from Manhattan. This is an incredible album. I can't recommend it higher. If you can find a clean copy of this, there's probably been reissues. Haven't really done a ton of research on it, but I was in a shop 2 weeks ago and found this for under $30 and in incredible condition. I love this. It's, like I said, it's very accessible. The recording is dynamic. It sounds fantastic. It has tight, defined bass. I love that cymbal ride by Lenny White. That's in the right channel whenever that's happening. And the solos by Hubbard are in the left channel. Just searing, emotional, and a thrill ride. This is a fantastic album. That is Red Clay, Freddie Hubbard. I usually try and catch CBS Saturday Morning because I like their menu and chef segment that they have, and then they also usually have a live performer every week. That's every Saturday morning. And I think a couple weeks ago it was Lyle Lovett. Now Lyle Lovett is back with a new album. It's called The 12th of June, named after the date that his twins were born. He finally got remarried. I don't know how far back, but he's got twin toddlers at this point in time. Lyle Lovett is now in his 60s. He is as quirky and great as ever. On that CBS show, he had basically his large band with him. I did notice Will Lee from Letterman's band fame playing bass during that segment, which was pretty cool. This is the new album that I just picked up recently at a Barnes & Noble. It's the only place I could find it. Really nice package. It is in a gatefold. And this is kind of a quirky album. There are, well, first of all, it starts off with a really nice big band instrumental cover of Horace Silver's Cooking at the Continental. Now, I've never seen Lovett live, but apparently lately that's what they are starting their concerts with. And in interviews, he said that he wanted this album to kind of reflect the feel of a live show that he has been doing over the last several years. But yeah, Cooking at the Continental leads this thing off. Then we have a very quirky song, kind of, in that vein of what Lovett has done in the past. Pants is Overrated, supposedly about visiting Scotland and seeing guys in kilts. And it's a pretty funny song, really good wry lyrics. Side 2 are all originals, leading off with the title track, 12th of June, a standout song on this album, very emotional, well played, well sung, followed up by one of my favorites, Pig Meat Man, back to the kind of sardonic humor. Basically, the Pig Meat Man is a paean to bacon. That is 12th of June, Lyle, Lovett. Very, very nice pressing. I have, I think this is coming, I think this has come out in a marbled variant, but I just have the plain black wax, which is fine with me. The album was mastered by Bob Ludwig, and then the lacquers were cut by Chris Bellman. So you will see Chris Bellman CB in the dead wax, and everyone knows the work that Chris Bellman has been doing, of course, working for Bernie Grundman's mastering house. Bellman is fantastic. He's a top-notch A1 mastering engineer. When I saw that in the credits, it definitely made me kind of rush out and get the album, especially after seeing a great performance on that CBS show. That's 12th of June. Highly recommended. Lyle, Lovett, his first album in 10 years. One of my very favorite post-punk alternative bands is Throwing Muses. Throwing Muses is or was Kristen Hirsch, Tanya Donnelly. Those two are actually stepsisters. Tanya Donnelly eventually broke off and formed her own band, Belly. Then Throwing Muses got back together, or the two stepsisters got back together again, I think in the early aughts, and had a reunion album and tour. The other two founding members in the band, the fantastic drummer David Narciso and Leslie Langston on bass. I was incredibly pleased to stumble across their debut album. This is a actual UK pressing on the 4AD label. This is a self-titled, it's just called Throwing Muses. This came with a really nice printed inner sleeve, and what an incredible debut album. You know, Kristen Hirsch is akin to another favorite artist of mine. I would call her the female equivalent of Bob Mould. She is just seething intensity, kind of wears her heart on her sleeve, and can really shred on guitar as well. There's a look at the that label. Again, 4AD. This thing sounds incredible. It was mastered at the Townhouse. The standout song for me is a Kristen song. That song is Hate My Way. It really kind of showcases her lyrical sensibilities, and it's a slow build rocker, incredible instrumentation. Again, David Narciso on drums is just fantastic. And you know what I love about this band, the early days of Throwing Muses before Tanya left, you had the intensity of Kristen Hirsch coupled with kind of the melodic sensibilities of her stepsister Tanya Donnelly. It really made for some magical results. If you haven't heard Throwing Muses before, you're not familiar with them, highly recommended. Their earlier albums are not easy to find these days. I don't see them very often. But when I saw their debut on 4AD, UK original pressing, I jumped. Next up is one of those situations that I talked about at the very beginning of the video, finding an upgrade. So I have all of the IRS year R.E.M. titles except for Document, and I was pleased to find basically a near mint copy of Document. This was mastered at Masterdisc by Robert Ludwig, and this thing sounds amazing. It's got tons of punch, tons of drive. The bass, I think, is pretty good. It's pretty there. It's pretty forward. You'll see varying people discussing this online. Some people think that the bass is thin. Others will think, no, this is the pressing to have. So when I saw an original pressing on that IRS label, I definitely jumped at it. And there is the album, there's the label. Again, look for master disc in the dead wax. Now, this album, such a great album, so many great songs, everything from Finest Work Song, of course, the lead-off track. I also love the 1-2 punch of Exhuming McCarthy and Disturbance at the Heron House. That is track 3 and 4 on side 1. You know, ending that side with It's the End of the World as We Know It and I Feel Fine. That is a song that R.E.M. typically would end their concerts with. I only saw the band once. I happened to be working in Switzerland, saw them at the Montreux Jazz Fest on the Up Tour. So super bummed I did not get to see Bill Berry, but the band sounded awesome. They sounded tight that night, and you know, they played several things from the Up record, but of course a whole greatest hits package as well. Happy to have found this, and now I kind of have a quandary. So I have the pressing that I used to have as my playing copy. The only copy I had was the 2018 180 gram vinyl variant. This is what they're calling the gold variant. I think it's more of a translucent orange. Now, this one was mastered by Ron McMaster at Capitol. You'll see R.E.M. in the dead wax and mastered by Capitol as well. This thing sounds really good, and I have to spend a little more time to determine, you know, am I just going to hang on to both of these, or maybe I'll sell one on Discogs. But knowing me, my heart tells me to hold on to the original pressing. But this thing does sound super good. I just have to determine, is it good enough? Do I need to have 2 copies, or maybe I should let this thing free and have someone else enjoy it? Document R.E.M. I just finished a video breaking down power ballads. You know, the whole kind of concept of that video. I talk about some of these schlocky hairband power ballads that were all the rage between the years of 1985 to 1990. Go check it out. It's the next to last video that I put out. But one of the things I featured is one of the original power ballads, one of the precursors that got ripped off by so many bands, and that, of course, was Lady by Styx. That came out on Styx II, and I recently picked up this copy. Of course, it's an original pressing on that wooden nickel label. This was mastered at Sterling by Sterling's founder, Lee Holko. Go check out my mastering engineer videos. I did do an episode on Lee Holko and some of the awesome pressings that he is responsible for. It didn't include this because I didn't have this at the time, but what a great album. Dennis DeYoung. I made an argument in that previous video that I think Styx should bring Dennis DeYoung back for a farewell tour. I think the Styx fans deserve that. I think Lawrence Gowan would easily step aside or maybe help out Dennis on vocals if needed, although I have heard Dennis DeYoung on YouTube videos. The guy is very prolific online, and he still sounds amazing, although he is saying that he's kind of semi-retired now. That is Styx II from the year 1973, recorded at Paragon Studios in Chicago, Illinois. Last but not least, Oops, I Did It Again. This is another upgrade situation. You know, it's becoming more and more of a bad habit, for me at least. If I'm in a shop and I see an original Steely Dan early pressing, the pressing that you want. Either the earlier albums on the ABC label or Gaucho on MCA. And if they're in fantastic condition, I have a hard time walking out of the shop without buying those. I just think that, especially if they're reasonably or fairly priced, I just think that I have an issue with Steely Dan. Hello. And this was another example. So this thing is basically nearly mint. The cover is in pristine shape, and it's got that first MCA label with that kind of rainbow coming out of the sky there. Of course, Master Disc and Robert Ludwig RL etched on both sides. This is the pressing that you want for Gaucho. Had to pick it up, and it was under $20, so it came home with me. I have a less than perfect copy of this exact same album that I think I'm just going to throw on Discogs. This thing is in great shape. Near mint, not a mark on it, full gloss, full sheen, and an incredible mastering job by Bob Ludwig. Those earlier copies came with a beautiful heavy-duty cardstock inner, all the lyrics. What a fantastic cap to the first run of Steely Dan. Of course, executive engineer Roger Nichols, who engineered everything that they did. Second engineer Elliot Shiner, Bill Schnee, another legendary name. Recorded at the Village Recorder in West LA. I think they did some work in New York. Yes, they did at Sigma Sound. If you're not aware of my Steely Dan vinyl guide videos, check them out. They're pretty popular. I'm kind of proud of those. I have mentioned that before. Anyway, that's Gaucho 1980 Steely Dan. And yes, I did finally decide to pull the trigger. I'm just starting right now with Two Against Nature. I did order from Acoustic Sounds the 45 RPM double LP set of Two Against Nature. I'm very interested to get that in my hands. I know I think it just shipped yesterday, and I'm going to give that a listen against the Record Store Day reissue that came out last year. Should be interesting. I've seen a few videos out there. People are saying it's a home run, so looking forward to getting it. That is today's kind of wrap up of recent vinyl finds, a couple upgrades, and a new album that I picked up that I think is fantastic. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll be back soon.